Woo! Well, I'm just coming off another fantastic urban assault on the Gen 2 checkpoint. This is the SL6, but in the SL models, they're basically, they are the same frame. It's just different components. And what I want to talk about is how well this bike rides in an urban situation, in an urban hammer situation like we did from my little bicycle shop. Well, let's see Bicycle Works this evening. This is an urban hammer session through the back roads of Biloxi, Mississippi, over the Biloxi Bay Bridge into Ocean Springs, Mississippi. This is not like other urban cities. We have it unique here. We can put the hammer down urban without having to deal with a whole lot of traffic. Now we do go on a lot of back roads. We go on a lot of broken roads. We go across some gravel parking lots. So stuff like that keeps us away from the main streets. And it's an interesting route with a lot of character. A lot of straightaways, a lot of little zippy up and downs, a lot of chicane turns. Something that really mimics what the Trek Checkpoint Gen 2 can do. Of course, it is a gravel bike. It's known as a gravel bike. I like to kind of call it an all roads bike. I mean, it's something that you can ride just about any surface on. Of course, it has its limitations. You know, it's not a downhill full suspension mountain bike. Now, I've seen some brilliant riders that can make it, you know, make it through some single track that's, you know, made for a mountain bike and do it. But, you know, at a regular rider, I'm a pretty skilled rider myself. I have a full suspension mountain bike, so I don't really need to take this out on the mountain bike trails. But it's great for, one, the gravel roads. But two, it's also good for an urban situation like this. For us to get to the road riding out here, quote, quote, where the roads are good for open roads where you can do 20 or 30 miles without, you know, running into cross traffic and stuff like that. We're lucky we've got that in Biloxi, Mississippi too. Literally 15 minutes from less than 15 minutes from my bike shop, there's an area called Wool Market or Latimer. It's fantastic road riding. But you do have to load up your bike in your car, the back of your truck, and bring it out there to ride. We're lucky it's 2-lane highway, and you know it's not a big deal to get out there. But still, I like starting rides from my bicycle shop, and we don't have a group riding around here. But for urban, it's fantastic. Like this Wednesday night urban ride we do out of here. It's good for multiple skill levels. I tell people, you know, when we're riding urban, if you can't keep up with the main pack, and we do have some regroups. You know, being urban, we do have some stoplights we've got to go through. We go through where there's like a couple of cul-de-sacs back in here. And as we turn around, it lets the people behind us that maybe got dropped off the back catch up. Also, you know, we are courteous to the little bit of vehicle traffic we have. So if we come to an intersection and we see a car there first, you know, we're going to slow down and wave that car by. So most of the time around here, the cars just sit there and they wave us by, which is kind of cool. But all those situations do allow for, you know, riders to catch up. Because, you know, when you're in a pace line on the open road, if you get spit off the back, good luck trying to keep up. And then a lot of times you're out on these country roads where you don't, if you're not familiar, you don't know how to get back, you know. At least here in the urban situation, there's the safety net of, you know, around here, we've got a few gas stations. We've got some casinos. We've got, you know, it's residential. So really, if you're in trouble, you go knock on someone's door around here and they'll help you out with whatever you need. So it does allow for that safety net of not being out on some open road or some gravel road away from everybody. It also, you know, we tell people on our rides here that, hey, you know, if you get dropped off the back, that's okay. Just peel off and roll back to the shop at your own pace. So you can do as much of the ride or as little of the ride as you want. So let me get back to the checkpoint, because really I want to talk about how nimble this bike rides. As someone that's, you know, I've done a lot of crit racing. When I get this bike into a tight situation, a fast 18 to 20 mile an hour turns, and we've got these neighborhoods back here that years ago during Hurricane Katrina, the houses got taken out, but now the roads have been all repaved, and it's fantastic for leaning into a corner back there. These Girona tires do a great job of it. They're not GP 5000s, but for a gravel tire, they're better than the Specialized Pathfinders that I used to like a lot. They're quiet. They seem lightweight. They roll good. They go into a corner. They stick a corner. I don't know. These have been some, and we do have a lot of sandy, gravelly corners in here. And I don't slip on these. These are the stock 42s. I do have a different set of wheels on this bike, but it's just because I'm going to keep this bike for probably about a year and sell it off. And when I sell it off, I'm going to sell it with the original wheels. I could say, honestly, they were new takeoffs. So this is a set of Lund carbon wheels that I got in a trade since I own a bike shop. So that's one of the reasons I trade the wheels, because the original wheels were great. They were on here, but I just want to sell this bike new with the wheels on it. So anyway, the handlebar is a little bit wide compared to my road bike, so I feel, as a small shouldered guy, I feel like I'm not as aero as I could be. But boy, when that wind was blowing last week at 40 plus miles an hour over the Biloxi Bay Bridge, I was glad I had the extra width to hold on to. It wasn't like holding on to a skinny little road bar. So it is a gravel bike. I'm going to keep the stock bars on here and just be a little bit less aero when the time comes. But this bike does feel aero. When I look at this front fork, it is beefy. That's a beefy fork. It does soak up the vibrations. But this bike feels aerodynamic, and I'm not exactly sure why. I just had it pointed in the wind less than 50. I mean, this is a real video. I just finished my ride, so all the way back from Ocean Springs, going from east to west, I had a headwind, and this bike rips through a headwind. Like I said, I feel a little bit wide, but it is a gravel bike, so I want to keep a wide bar on it. But you can make this a road bike really easy. It's very stable. When I look at the numbers of the rake and the trail on this bike, it's not like my road bikes where, your handlebars or your wheel is more under the handlebars, but it feels very nimble and very stable. So I think the engineers have nailed this geometry. As we're riding urban, we do hit some potholes and some rougher roads. Having this ISO speed technology, and I mean, it's just subtle. A lot of people say they don't even feel it. At 150 pounds, I'm a light rider. At speed, I feel how this is giving me a more comfortable ride. But when I put the power down into this bottom bracket, I don't feel like this is holding me back. So I get the benefit of having a more comfortable, subtle ride, with a little bit of suspension built into this. Then I don't feel the disadvantages of it. So it might be a couple grams heavier because of maybe the pivot but they've really minimized the amount of hardware that is. So I don't know what the weight penalty is on that, but I'll take it for the comfortable ride. I'm 55 years old. I want a little comfort, but I also demand speed. I dropped the group on the Wednesday ride tonight. There were some Air Force guys there. We had some faster guys from our group. And when it came down to it, I put the hammer down on this bike. So it is fast. I love the gear ratio. This Rival electronic shifting is amazing. It's fantastic. Of course, it's got a 40 tooth on the front, and it's 11. Is it a 34 or 43 on the back? Whatever it is, it's a great gear ratio for what I've got here around Biloxi, Mississippi. I don't know. I'm really impressed with the way this bike handles, rides. It's lightweight. I kind of like this. I don't think Trek officially calls it an I-beam top tube, but it's kind of a squared off top tube. And I'm sure it has something to do with how it helps this bike ride good. I used to drop seat stays both on my Specialized and my Giant that I've had. I was used to some drop seat stays. I kind of like the traditional diamond frame. I like the way it rides. It rides better than my bike with the drop seat stays. I kind of got used to that look of the drop seat stays, and I liked it. But this bike rides better. This is one of the nicest bikes that, well, it's my favorite bike I own right now. Well, I love mountain biking, so that's my Super Caliber. That might be my favorite bike right now. But I get way more use out of this bike because I can ride it everywhere. You know, I take my Super Caliber out to the trails. I don't ride it urban. But this is the bike that gets all the use. I even have a new Badone that I haven't even ridden yet. It's hanging up in the other room. I'm gonna need that when I go out with the A group, when I go out with the fast guys on the road ride. I'm gonna need that. But I might take a trip to Europe. I might be lucky enough to take a trip to Europe this summer. And if so, I'm gonna take, you know, I've got my choice. Take my road bike, and it seems like in Europe there's a lot of traditional road riding. Take my mountain bike, because there's going to be some awesome mountain bike trails out there. Or take my gravel bike that I could explore and do a little bit of everything. And I think Europe is getting a bit of a gravel culture now. So I'll probably take the gravel bike out of all those. So if you're in Europe around France, the Lake Geneva area, and I know Lake Geneva is in Switzerland, but I might be around that area a little bit in July or August. And if anybody knows that area in the cycling, it's so hard as an American to, like, I can't find hardly anything on YouTube or on the internet. Even I Googled a couple of the bike shops, and they don't even have a Facebook page. So things are, you know, culturally a little bit different in Europe. So I might have to rely on my YouTube viewers and people that know something out there. I mean, it's so hard to find. I see some road riding and I see some touring, but, you know, like I'm looking for maybe a gravel race or something out there to you know, immerse myself in the culture. And I just can't find any information. But I figured the Trek Checkpoint is the one awesome bike that I can kind of do everything on. And I'm going to bring it in this configuration right here, just stock. You know, the only thing I've done is I hung this goofy little mount on it up here. But I think I am going to get the blender stem so it kind of looks better. But I did this in a pinch so I could put a camera and a Garmin, and I forgot my Garmin. So I'm trying this Brighton Rider 15. I'm not really that impressed with how that thing worked. It's clunky. I like the lightweight of it. I mean, it's nice and light. My new Garmin 510 it's 1050 is heavy. Hopefully this Brighton's tough. I've actually had this Brighton on my fat bike for a while, but it's hard. I don't know. It's hard to use. I guess I'm just used to Garmin. But anyway, that's what I've got up here is just a little goofy thing. And I've got a bell, you know, because we do ride on the multi-purpose boardwalk. Even going over the bridge tonight, I rang my bell several times, and, you know, people thank me for, you know, at least warning them I'm coming, because we're hauling butt. So anyway, the Trek Checkpoint is very impressive. I've been riding it about 4 months now, and I can't think of anything I don't like about it. I'm 5'9". I was torn on this new t-shirt sizing. 5'9" is kind of like a 56. I've always been a 54 centimeter rider. I listened to the Trek engineers on the size chart, and it's pretty much put me 5'8" to 5'10" in the medium large. Well, 5'9" is right in that middle range. So I trusted Trek, and when I got this bike and put it together, it seemed big. You know, kind of seemed big. But I tell you what, it rides perfect. I'm glad I've got the meat. I'm glad I listened to the size chart. I've got kind of a 32.5-inch inseam. So I kind of have long legs and a medium torso. This bike fits me fantastic. The medium large Trek Checkpoint Gen 2 fits me amazing. So anyway, I had a blast on this Urban Assault. It's a good way for me to end the day today. So there's a bike. It's a good looking bike too. I like this white. Ooh. The seat's comfortable. I was thinking about the seat as I was riding. I've always been a fan of the Specialized seat, so I'm just now getting used to the Trek and the Bontrager seats. This is called the Verse. Once again, it's the stock saddle, and very comfortable. I kind of like it better than the old Specialized saddle I used to ride. So I like the integrated cables, and they're easy to run for a bicycle mechanic. It wasn't any big deal at all. Anyway, very impressed with the Trek Checkpoint. Any questions? My name is Bart Luther. I own a little shop called Biloxi Bicycle Works in downtown Biloxi, Mississippi, which is on the Gulf Coast. So if you have a Trek dealer, absolutely support your Trek dealer. If you don't have a Trek dealer and you're looking for one, boy, I would love to sell you a bike. But I'm not making this video to sell, to sell this bike. I'm making this video because I really like this bike. I'm an IBD. I'm a Trek dealer, or Cannondale dealer, and there's a lot of little companies I deal with as well. And I like Allied. I was thinking about getting an Allied. But I'm glad I picked the Trek Checkpoint. Been my favorite gravel bike I've ever owned, and I'm pretty experienced in gravel bikes, and believe me, owning the bike shop, I ride a lot of different brand bikes, but I really like this one. So anyway, Bart from Bicycle Rider YouTube. If you like what we do, like and subscribe. Questions, call me up at the shop. I'm easy to find. Work here pretty much from Tuesdays to Saturdays, and then you can also find me on YouTube or my personal Facebook page, Bart Luther. Pretty easy guy to find. I don't do a lot of fancy videos. It's real. I just finished riding this thing 30-something miles, Hammerfest in urban Biloxi, Mississippi, and I couldn't ask for a better bike. Bart from Bicycle Rider YouTube. Over and out for now.